Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight, and welcome to another edition of my virtual book club. You know what we do already. We are here just for you during times like this, as we are in the house and we are looking for other options and other things to do. What better way to spend your time than to read a good book? And every Tuesday, 6 o'clock, we've been endeavoring to bring you exciting authors and great books for your reading pleasure. And today we have another great author. So what I want you to do is share right now. Make sure you start a watch party so that those who are connected to you can be a witness to another author on tonight. So would you please do me a favor and click that share button right now so that we can get started as soon as we can. Again, we thank you all for joining us today. We have sharing with us another author of another great book. Would you please help me welcome Lisa Dannielle, who is the author of Youre Hidden Season. Lisa, how are you tonight?
I'm so good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I am good, thank you. Good to have you sharing with us today, and we're excited about you being here. Would you, for those who are watching today, would you please share with us a little bit about who Lisa Dannielle is?
Oh, wow. I am an author, a speaker, mother, friend, sister, all the above, entrepreneur. I have been writing, oh my gosh. I did my first book in 2019, but have been in love with the English language forever. So it was pretty much inevitable, but really grateful that God has been able to pull a book out of me.
Good. What led you to begin writing a book? What led you to write a book yourself?
Well, I think essentially it's all about your experiences, right? So in the course of going through different things in your life, you come out of it, you should come out of it with some lessons. And so for me, I was a firm believer in the fact that I don't believe that there's any one thing that you will experience that is not actually for someone else. And so I was kind of grappling with whether or not I was going to put some of my experiences in a book and then share that with the world. And I just felt like even if a couple of people didn't have to experience some of the things I went through, then it was worth it.
All right, great. So the name of your book is Youre Hidden Season.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about Youre Hidden Season. How do we come up with that book in particular?
Well, Youre Hidden Season, Discovering the Beauty in the Wait. A lot of people hear Discovering the Beauty in the Wait and they go, oh, it's a singles book, so it must be about how to get a man. But it's not, right? Plot twist. It's not about how to get a man because there are authors actually writing about things besides how to get a man. Right. So this particular book is about embracing anonymity. Sometimes God needs to do something in you and he takes you to a place of hiding. He kind of closes you off from the world and you think that you're, right there visible for everyone to see and you're actually hidden in plain sight. And so your hidden season is actually embracing a season of just pulling away, spending time with God, and then allowing him to do the work in you that's necessary for the mate when he comes or she comes.
Nice. So your first chapter deals with the fact that you're hidden. Let's deal with that part of your book first.
Yes. Well, I can't begin to tell you how many women talk about, I'm beautiful and I'm talented and I have all this going for me. And for some reason, I just don't feel like I'm getting the attention I used to get, or I've not met someone that's worthwhile. And I tell people all the time, it's not that you're not beautiful anymore. It's not that you're not talented anymore. It's not that you don't have an amazing career. It could just be that God is desiring you for a season of hiding right now. Sometimes God allows us to be pulled away and veiled so that, he gets to do the grand reveal. And so, your hidden season, or your hidden, that chapter, your hidden, is really just kind of diving into the acceptance of being hidden in plain sight, because sometimes it can be very, very hard for you to think that you're ready for something when God doesn't think you're ready.
Nice. Now your second chapter deals with your heart, and you spend an extensive amount of time making sure that you deal with it. How important is it that you have this particular talk in your book?
Yeah, so your heart ended up being, originally, I really thought it was going to be broken out into more than one chapter because it was so long. But I felt like it was one of those things that it had, all of those things had to be considered when you were looking at your journey. And the reason why I say that is because your hidden season, the book itself, is in fact a journey for you to kind of go through step by step and look at different areas of your life and make sure that they are pleasing to God. And so your heart, one of the special portions of that, it talks about how the condition of your heart really affects your level of vision. And it's not something that we just say. I know that, in church we say, oh, your vision, or you have to have people perish for lack of vision or whatever, but that's not what I mean. Literally, physiologically, if your heart is in bad condition, it usually affects your eyes, because all of the arteries and everything that affects one affects the other. So if you have extensive heart problems, chances are you will have a problem with vision. And so I just thought about that, and really, really, I feel like the Holy Spirit really just divinely gave me that revelation. A lot of times there can be worthwhile people right in front of us. There can be great men or great women right in front of us, but because of the condition of our hearts, we can't even see them. So that's where that comes from.
Now dealing with that, so could it be some failed relationships are due to not having addressed your heart issues?
Oh,
Not necessarily
absolutely.
the person was wrong, or
Excuse me. Yes, absolutely. Because you know what? It is as important to be able to receive love when it is given to you than it is for you to be able to give love. And there are some times that if you have not dealt with your own individual heart issues, it will be very hard for you to receive love, even if it's from the right person. A lot of times, the majority of the theme of this book is not just you getting ready for your forever, but being able to maintain and keep your forever when you get it. Because
right.
a lot of times, we kind of count ourselves out. We kind of think, oh, it's not packaged the way I wanted it. Or, I kind of had a different vision for my life. And you have a different vision for your life, but you have the same desires or the same proclivities you had before, and those will disqualify you from the vision that you had from your
Right, right.
life.
So once you figure out that God has had you hidden for a season, once you recognize the need for you to make sure that your heart is where it needs to be, you
Mhm.
also talk about your relationships. Deal with our capacity for relationships in this season of being hidden.
Wow. Well, it is so very important. I think a lot of times, especially as singles, we focus on the man-woman relationship. We focus on our significant others, and we don't look at how our particular belief systems, experiences, any of that. We don't look at how that transcends and kind of trickles down into your other areas of relationship. I know one of the things that I mentioned is that, when I was in relationship with someone, they were kind of narcissistic, very controlling type of person, right?
Right.
Because there was something broken in me that needed someone that constantly negatively affirmed me, or constantly like was on my shoulder. Now, did I like that? No, absolutely not. But in that season of my life, I was so insecure with myself
Mm-hmm.
that I allowed myself to be put in that situation. Well, okay, how does that translate to our relationships? Well, then you'll find that if you look closely at your friendships, you will have befriended the same type of people,
Mm-hmm.
not just a significant other, but
Right.
friendships. So your friendships are an indicator of where you are in your life at that time. And that is why sometimes, most times, there are certain friendships that are seasonal, because once you grow to a certain level, you're no longer compatible with that friend anymore.
Yeah.
So it's the same way, just as you look at man-woman relationships, it's the same with your friends, with your family members. You have to constantly make sure that you are assessing whether or not you are stewarding those friendships well.
Yeah. With regard to relationships, would you also say that it is not only your friendships that shape your male-female relationship, so to speak, but also even your relationships with your parents and your immediate family, how that shapes who you marry, who you date, right?
Absolutely. When you have been in an environment where you feel rejected by a parent, you oftentimes end up seeking out people with the same traits as that parent so that they can accept you.
Hmm.
And so you end up in this cycle of constantly, like I remember someone telling me the other day, we were talking about calling God our Father.
Hmm.
And I explained to them how difficult that was for me, because I did not have that relationship with my biological father, right?
Hmm.
So I always questioned God, because I treated God the way I felt my father treated me. I felt like God was far off from
Hmm.
me. I felt like God was disconnected from me, because in that season, for whatever reason, because you never know what people are going through or what, you know, my father had to go through, whatever. But the fact of the matter is he was not there. And so because he was absent, and because God is someone, you know, that we cannot see, I likened my relationship to God with my relationship with my biological father, and that caused a lot of misplaced and mismanaged relationships. It just really did.
Yeah. And sometimes the relationships that you have seen
Hmm.
others have can shape it as well, right? So if none of
Absolutely.
my family members have had a successful marriage, or if none of my sisters have, have been able to find somebody, so does that shape you as well?
Absolutely, because you
Yeah.
you believe, and you may not even intentionally believe. You may
Right.
say, "My grandmother got a divorce. My mom was divorced," and you are indirectly thinking, "I'm going to get a divorce." You know,
Right.
and so everything points to divorce for you because that's what it was for them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh, my grandmother had premature death. My mom had premature death. That must mean that I'm going to die early. We have to be careful, because we end up speaking into our lives things that God never intended for us to walk with or to carry. We
Yeah.
just decide these things for our lives, and then we end up dealing with the consequences of them, and then we're frustrated that we're having to deal with it.
Yeah. So once you deal with your hidden, the fact that you have to deal with your heart issues, and then
Mhm.
we deal with the relationships.
Mhm.
You also deal with, in your book, looking at your expectations. Talk to us about
Ooh.
these expectations that you have.
Yes. I would say that hands down, the one area that I talk about on my platform the most would be
Mhm.
expectations.
Mm.
Because you hear people that have been married for 30 years, 40 years, 20 years, whatever. You hear them always say it never looks the way you think. But you don't really think that it doesn't look the way you think. You go,
Right.
okay, but it really does not look the way you think. I mean, nothing about it is familiar to you at all.
Right.
Okay, so you have the businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
who, is making, I don't know, 6 figures a year. And then you have a garbage man who sees her and thinks she's amazing and wants to be with her. And she's like, yeah, but I kind of always thought that, the man that comes to get me would be across the hall, and he'd be making 7 figures, and, and everything would be perfect. He'd already live in a mansion, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's that guy. And so what ends up happening is, against our will, in our mind, we get married. We get married to our expectations.
Wow. Yeah.
And the longer we're single, the longer we're married to him.
Mm-hmm.
And so everything about him is perfect, right? There's nothing that is flawed about him at all. And so because of that, we end up, frustrated with every mortal man that comes into our presence, because he's not exactly as awesome as our virtual husband up here in our heads. And so that chapter really just talks about keeping your feet on the ground, being realistic. What do you really want? And how bad do you really want it? Are you willing to take someone who has nothing but negative things to say to you? Do you really want to take someone who does not affirm your dreams if it's in the wrapper that you want, right? Are you willing to completely support a man financially as long as he's fine? Right? We like to call them hobosexuals, men that need somewhere to live, right? So, so they just want a girlfriend that's gonna have a place to live. Like, what are your expectations? Are you willing to compromise? And it's not settling, it's compromise. There may be places where, I may be, want somebody that's 6'10", right? And you may be destined for somebody that's 5'7". Like, you just don't know. Like, you have to be realistic, right? About what matters. Because a lot of the time you'll find that the things that you're not bending on are the things that don't matter.
Right. Do you think what changes expectations? I'll put it like this. Is it age? Is it experience? Talk about how the different phases of expectations. All of the above, right?
All of the above. All of the above.
Talk about how many times expectations change and what causes them to change.
Oh my goodness. I think, so case in point, when you first start dating, you have no idea what you want, right? So people are everywhere. The options are endless, right? You can date all the time because you have no idea what you want. Then you have experiences that start to show you what you don't want. Right. You don't necessarily know what you do want, but you know what you don't want. Now that dwindles the dating pool down a little bit more. Right. Then you age. You get older. Your personal priorities change. Right. So there may have been a time when you're 25, 30 years old, you just looking at somebody who wants to, take you to the club every Saturday night. But now at 40, you're looking for someone that wants to do purpose with you. Right? Wants to be about purpose, wants to be invested in the life of you and your children. Like, you have different needs at different stages of your life. And you want somebody that can evolve with that. And you realize that some of the relationships you were in before, those people wouldn't be able to evolve with you because they have to keep you in a certain gate because that's where you are for them, right? So I think it's a mixture of all of that. I think it's your age, I think it's your experiences, and I think it all culminates to this season of your life when you know exactly what you want, which then dwindles the pool down a little more, right? Because that means you may wait a little longer to be with the person that you feel like you're supposed to be with. I don't feel like people should shy away from that. And people will go, oh, she wants me to be single forever. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's worth the wait if you wait. What you don't want is to keep walking around the same track you've been walking around for the last, I don't know how long, right? So you have plenty of time to get it right the first time. Or the third time, or the fifth time, or whatever. It's always time to do it right the first time.
Now, you talked about the difference between compromise and settling. And I think when you reach a certain age, if you have not found that person, or if you have not gotten the relationship that you were hoping for and things like that, what we're saying is what you said, the hobosexuals, the ones who are just looking for a place to stay. What
Right.
you see
Blow
is
your bank
success.
out, ruin your credit.
Right. Drive your car, eat your food,
Right. Suck it
make
up
the
your
pickup point.
air, eat
Yeah.
your groceries. Yeah.
Right. So what we're seeing is a rise in successful, women who sometimes get with a guy who, just got, high hopes.
Arm candy.
Yeah.
That's it.
And vice versa, right?
Mhm.
Sometimes, men look for a woman who, if he's successful, then he's looking for somebody, that he
Right.
can just, who needs him, right?
Right.
So
Mhm.
how do you make sure that you don't settle just because, I'm 35 and I thought I'd be in a certain place by now. I'm
Right.
40 and I felt like,
Yeah.
everybody else was getting married. I'm tired of being a bridesmaid and never
And
a
never a
bride.
bride. Right.
Speak to that spirit of settling that we're seeing for both men and women.
Well, this is the truth. The fact of the matter is the way you know that you're settling is if you knew in their absence things that were absolutely non-negotiable for your happiness. And then their presence has made you shy away from that or pull away from that,
Mm-hmm.
then you have settled.
Mm-hmm.
When they were not there, you said, I need these things to be happy. I'm not talking about physical attributes or anything shallow. I'm talking about core character traits that
Mm-hmm.
you absolutely knew that you would be perfectly happy with for the rest of your life if a man possessed these traits.
Mm-hmm.
And then when a man comes on the scene, all of a sudden, all of those core values no longer matter, then you have settled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do you know if this is indeed your time of being hidden in plain sight? If this is your time of God working on you, working some things out of you, working through you, and working on you, how do you know when that season is up? How do you know when you're ready
Ooh.
for your grand premiere, right?
Wow. Okay. How do you know? I think it's weird how it happens, in my opinion. This is how it happens. So let's go back to the beginning, right? So you this gorgeous woman, right? You're just walking around and everybody sees you. I mean, everybody. You can't walk down the street without the men in the gardening truck hollering at you, okay? Everybody and their mother sees you. You go to church, somebody sees you. You go to the grocery store, somebody sees you. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden, people see you, but it's not like it was before where it was a full court press. It was just constant like, oh, hey, how you doing? And you were just kind of like, no. And they're like, okay, no pushing the issue, whatever. And so then you get to this place where you're like, I wonder what's different. There's no way you can A, know you're hidden, or B, know when it's time for you to be revealed without relationship with God. Because he's going to tell you. Like, I'm like, there's something different here. The way I'm being pursued is different. They're not pushing me as much. It's not, let me call before your phone was blowing up on Thursday night so that you could go to, to the movies on Friday. And now it's like, maybe, or maybe not. It's like, what's going on? God's like, yeah, not time for that right now. And I don't know. It's weird when you're no longer hidden. I believe that God tells you that too. Like, you're ready. Right. But the bad thing about that is that when God tells you you're ready, he also tells you things to look for. Mm-hmm. And you don't get to tell the person that is pursuing you what you're looking for, that God told you to look for. Yeah. Right. That way they can't act like they're those things. Yeah. So you feel bad. I had a dating situation where I really wanted it to work with this guy, right? Mm-hmm. But he was just like have you heard, what game show was that where it was like everything they did, like everything that he was just, every step he made, it was just bad. Right. And I was like tempted one night, like, listen, this is what you have to be doing. And God was like, I wish you would. Don't you say a word. Right. So I remember writing in my journal and saying, Lord, this is what I'm thinking. And this person seems to be in ministry and they seem to be, right there on point. But for some reason, it's just not happening. And God said, well, I told you what kind of character to look for. If that's not there, that's not the one.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's not the one, what are you hanging out for? What are you doing? What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, wow. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'll stop talking to him today if he calls me. And it was like, ring. Okay. So
Right.
I think you're not hidden anymore when you and God have come to the agreement that you first know him.
Mm-hmm.
My hidden season lasted a lot longer than I probably would have had it last. And when I say that, I mean, I'm one of the people that love being single. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when I say my hidden season, I mean the season where I wasn't even contemplating relationship. I was just focused on something else. And God told me what he desired for me, but that he couldn't give it to me yet because I did not know him. I knew the God I was introduced to. And that was not necessarily the same thing. So the way I viewed God was impeding upon my ability to recognize the right traits in the right people. So God was like, if you know me and spend time with me and know my character and drink me in and, know what I mean, spend all of your time with me, then when someone with my character comes across your path, you'll recognize him.
Right.
As opposed to you recognizing people that are putting on airs that are looking like the God you were introduced to. Because you think, oh, that's God. And I'm saying, nope, that's not me. Right. So I think that's when you kind of know, when God just says, okay, And I think God tells him too, like, I think, and I could be wrong because I'm not a man that's ever had to pursue no woman, but I believe that there are certain things about the pursuit that God and the man have to talk about, just the two of them.
Right.
And then God's like, so when the man comes to you, God's like, mm-mm. And you're like, okay, not him. Right. And he's like, okay, not her.
Right.
But then when it's like different, it's like, oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's what the Bible says. If you delight yourself in the Lord, he'll give you the desires of your heart based on the fact that you want his heart. You want what he wants for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's important that both parties, like you said, I think God does work on both sides.
Yeah.
He prepares you and who you're supposed to be with.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that it's a good mesh. I do believe it's important. I think that becomes one of the first questions in dating that people ask you is, what are you looking for, right? And the temptation is to say it, right? But every time you say what you're looking for, then that person puts on a performance of a lifetime to try to enact that. The only problem becomes, that only lasts, for a limited time before you see who we really are, who, we're really dealing with. So
yeah, absolutely.
I think it's important that, when we even in our dating, maybe that's a question that either you shouldn't answer or you shouldn't ask. I think both in the same is, if you are who they're supposed to be with, or you are who God has for them, I think you won't have to ask, well, what are you looking for? Because that person, I want to, somebody that's in church, and then all of a sudden he starts going to church, right?
With a tambourine, right?
It's like, a dating.
And I
politician.
think it's unfair, right? I think it's unfair. I think when someone says to you, oh, what are you looking for? I like to say, well, I don't really want to answer that question because that's unfair to you. Let me know you organically without the pressure of you having to perform for me or feel like, I'm not going to see your best qualities just by experiencing them. I don't want you to tell me anything. For me, I'm very much a show me person.
Right.
I don't want you to tell me anything like that. I want to be able to look at you and see, oh, he really believes that, or oh, he really knows that, okay, he's really going to do that, or he really, you know what I mean? And then whatever it is I'm looking for, right? Because this is the thing. What I was looking for when I met you may be a different thing than what I'm looking for when I know you. I may recognize things in your character after experiencing life with you that I didn't even know I was looking for. And so I think it's kind of unfair to diminish it down to what I think I want when you might be something that I didn't know I wanted.
Okay, this is good. Last thing then.
Okay.
So because we all have our list of, expectations and what we're
Yes.
looking for.
My list was this long.
Yeah.
Long list. Yeah.
So how often is it that you have been surprised by what you didn't know you needed?
Well, let me just tell you what God does with that list first.
Yeah.
Because I've had 4 iterations of that list, okay?
Right.
The first list was about that thick.
Mm-hmm.
And then God was like, okay, now take out all of this type stuff. So I was like, oh, okay, I'll take all that out. And he was like, all right. And then take out all this type of stuff. I was like, oh, okay, I'll take all that out.
Mm-hmm.
Then the list is like 7 things.
Right.
Right? That's just the 7 things. Right? And then God says to you, and if you get all those 7 things, no matter what the wrapper, then what?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hallelujah, God, thank you. Okay, it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And then he comes and you like, because remember my first list had, you know what I mean? So I think it's important to leave room for God to make the list for you. It's nothing wrong with having an idea of the character that you want, because I think that's so important to walk in knowing what character you want in your mate. However, it's unfair to you even to diminish it down to what you think you want, because they may surprise you and have traits you had no idea that you needed. Hands down.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been wonderful as we have discovered your hidden season and how important it is that God has to hide us for a season, so that He can kind of work on us. So now that you've released your book was released in 2019, right? So
yes.
So it's been out for February of 2019. Okay. Yes. So it's been out for a year.
Right.
That's right. Way before Rona.
Pre-Rona, yeah.
Yeah, pre-Rona. Mm-hmm. But so what do you have that you're working on now?
Oh, wow. I'm working on a lot now. I have a show called Lisa Dannielle After Dark that I do on Friday nights at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, where we talk about all things relationship. You've been a guest on my show. You did the Boaz episode. Y'all can go back to the YouTube and watch the Boaz episode. Pastor Hollman was discussing Boaz. And I have launched a church. So we have our very first service this coming Saturday. Wow. My church's name is Bold Church. And I'm super excited. Community of online believers dedicated to spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, free of political agenda or partisanship or negativity or racism or hatred, just the love of Jesus, and meant to build the church. And so super excited about that as well. And there may or may not be a second book on the way. Wow.
So the church, Bold Church, is a virtual church. Yes. Even in these times where you're launching a totally virtual church. Okay, great.
Totally virtual. Everyone is virtual for the most part now, right? We've all kind of gone virtual, but when everybody goes back in their buildings, Bold Church will not be in a building. I really believe that the mission of Bold Church is to build.
Right.
And the fact of the matter is, there are a lot of people that will never cross the thresholds of a church because of their experiences or whatever, but I don't want them to feel like there is a standard or a hierarchy as it relates to how they should look or what they should. I don't want them to feel like they have to do that. So we're going to start off in a virtual environment and ask God. We'll never limit God by saying what He won't do. Right. But we'll start off in a virtual environment, and we'll see. We'll have some events and have some outreach. We're very, very concentrated in that we want to laser focus on outreach in the United States, because a lot of ministries, shout out to y'all, do amazing work abroad, but we have some problems here at home that we need to take care of. And so Bold Church, our focus will be domestic outreach, making sure that we're able to reach people and proclaim and teach the gospel of Jesus Christ, and then feed the homeless and the hungry and help the elderly and everything else that we need to do right here at home.
All right, good. All right, so for those who are watching and they strive to either write a book or they have a book in them, what words of advice or words of wisdom would you give to those who are looking forward to writing their own book one day?
Oh, wow. I can only give you the best advice that I received. So I wish I could say it was like something from me, but it was the best advice I received during the book writing process. And you get a lot of advice during the book writing process. And that was, don't wait to be inspired to write. Just write, right? Editing will solve all the problems, but don't wait to be inspired. Set an appointment with yourself to write. Keep that appointment and your book will be done before you know it. It is when we are waiting for divine inspiration that our book ends up taking far longer than it needed to.
Good. And we thank you. Lisa Dannielle is, for those who don't know, she is
for having me.
Definitely all things. She's able to help you with not only your relationship situation, but also even among the church world. She has been influential with helping churches straighten up and fly right, making sure that the product right. She has been influential for me as well. And so we thank God for her and for all that she does, for not just for us, but for also what she's going to do in launching a Bold Church. And that is this Saturday 10 a.m. Bold Church. So make sure you reach out to her. Let's tell the people how they can keep up with all things Lisa Dannielle.
Yes. So on Instagram, I am at Lisa Dannielle. If you are on Facebook, I am at www.facebook.com/The Real Lisa Dannielle. That's Dannielle with 2 N's, so LisaDannielle. And if you are on YouTube, just search my name, Lisa Dannielle, and you will be able to find me. And then, of course, my website, www.lisadannielle.com.
All right. And how can they get your Hidden Season, your book? How can they get access to that?
My book is available anywhere online books are sold. So Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Amazon, anywhere books are sold, you can get my book. Walmart, it's available.
All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We enjoyed you today. Again, please make sure you share this episode and look forward to, this is going to be a great month. We have been doing this, I believe, for 3 or 4 months, and we've been getting great authors. If you are an author, you have a book that you have written, make sure you reach out so that we can feature you as well. But we are grateful for everyone that's joined us. Share it right now. Share it. Make sure you start a watch party even now, and you'll be glad that you did. Listen, every Tuesday, 6 o'clock, we'll be right here sharing some great authors and great content, great books just for you. Remember, we love you. There's nothing you can do about it. God bless you and God keep you is our prayer.